And finally, I think we finally caught that on film. Anyway, hi, you're watching One on One, and we'd like to invite you to please, if you have any questions about anything at all regarding this show, please make sure to dial 638-3465. And we are eagerly awaiting whatever calls you might get. Now, turning back, of course, to my distinguished guests, Willie, okay, since we're already on the topic of family, how important is family for you? Because you said earlier that you introduced yourself as a father because it's very, very important to you. Could you be more specific?
Well, I think family is very important. It's a universal principle, that family being the basic unit of society, family being what we call domestic church, and it's a common principle already that when the family is strengthened, the whole society is strengthened. So I think it all begins with the family, and there was that Pope, I think Pope John II, who said that the future of humanity comes by way of the family.
Very, 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 very true. In fact, if you don't mind my saying so, I think one of the reasons why people are advocating, for example, the rejection of the reproductive health bill is because they want to preserve the family. Okay, before we go back to Willie about preserving the family in his own little way, Catherine, would you agree with that? That an objection to the reproductive health bill is basically all about preserving the family?
Of course, that's one thing that I clearly see in this bill. Reproductive health is I think it's a misnomer in the sense that actually it's not something that the authors of the bill invented, that term. It's a term that was discussed in the UN, and all the countries agreed what it means, and what it means is it includes all the universal ways of controlling birth by including abortion.
Oh, including abortion. Yes. I was going to say, if it's from the UN, it must be good, but then we have abortion. Yeah. And I think neither side in the discussion on reproductive health actually advocate abortion. They're not out to kill anyone. Okay, Willie, would you like to explain how it is all about preserving the family from your perspective?
Yes. Reproductive health, actually, that's a nice piece of information that there's a technical definition that is, I suppose, internationally accepted. But for me, I think reproductive health it's generic term. It's a good term, and it must be a subset of something larger, like the psychological health, not only the physical health, spiritual health, and all of this. It all boils down to preserving the family. It's not only the physical health, it's not only that. We have to think of it from a holistic viewpoint.
Okay, a holistic point of view, and not a holy point of view necessarily.
Right.
Because I think one of the arguments also being brought against those people who advocate an objection to the reproductive health bill is the fact that they always try to tie it down to some sort of religious belief. Is that fair to say? That there is a great deal of religion in rejecting a reproductive health bill such as this?
Well, some people might have that viewpoint, but when you really go down to the basics, there are principles that are universal in nature, humanistic principles that many people of various affiliations or denominations, shall we say, or orientations, I suppose they agree, like universally accepted principles that we must preserve life. I suppose everybody agrees with that. So I think not really much of worldview or things like that. It's more of universal principles that are really inscribed in human nature.
Very good. Part of the problem, of course, even though that sounds very, very good with the term universal, is that whenever we say universal, it seems that we're trying to avoid the particular or the concrete. Catherine, in your capacity as mother, professional, and advocate, what are some of the concrete ways in which you manifest this preservation of the family?
One of the things, because I've been, I heard of this bill probably and got really involved in trying to understand what it was all about maybe around 2 or 3 years ago. And the way I see it, one of the provisions here that's very strong is about sex education for children from, I think, 5th grade towards
Fifth
high
grade
school.
and below.
Enough.
No. 5th grade and up. Okay. Is there anything wrong with sex education per se?
If you look, there's nothing wrong with sex education. There's nothing wrong with sex per se. It's a very holy thing, but I think it belongs to the parents teaching their children about sex, about how holy it is, how good it is, how it's connected to having a family, how it's connected to giving of yourself. I think that's so important because I think when you connect it to the reproductive health bill, sex education means contraception. So that's something that I don't think that's something I would want to teach my children.
Interestingly enough, you touched upon something that Willie mentioned earlier, that it is not proper to isolate a human being according to specific facets. So it's not all about sex, it's not all about health, it's about something bigger. But before we touch on to that, because it's very interesting, and you were telling me something earlier about homeschooling as a way of educating children. Willie, in your capacity as both father and professional, how do you concretize this preservation of the family?
Well, they say the best way to educate children is by your actions rather than talking to them or giving them books, you know. So I've had such specific experiences with my own children. Like 3 of my older kids are also serving in the parish like we are, and I really didn't force them. I really didn't force them to
I had to be bribed. Honestly speaking, my dad is there, he's probably watching right now and bragging to all of his friends what a good boy I am. But I had to be bribed. But your kids, they went of their own volition.
Yes. So actually, they joined because probably they saw that we were happy with what we were doing, in spite of the fact that we were pressed with time, being full-time employees ourselves, so many things to do in the office, and I think they saw that there must be something, that gives you satisfaction, even though sometimes it's tiring. So it's the way we act, the way we show them the things that counts really in education.
Very interesting. And at this point, it's either that Willie is a true son of David, espousing all of these Christian virtues. Like some throwback to David Blaine, that somehow he's been able to brainwash his kids into doing this. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you want to find out about how Willie does it, please call us at 638-3465. We've been talking about kids, and I think this is not a way of skirting the issue regarding reproductive health, but a way of concretizing, I think, in your way, how it is closely tied to your idea of family. Okay.